Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am MK Jabintaj. Today in this video I am giving you the knowledge about the third module of the subject operating system. For 4th SEM CSC CBCS VTU students, I am dedicating this video to all the students all over the world. Now let us begin Model 3 Deadlocks. A process requests resources. If the resources are not available at that time, the process enters a waiting time. Sometimes a waiting process is never again able to change state because the resources it has requested are held by other waiting processes. This situation is called deadlock. Now let us see system model. A system consists of a finite number of resources to be distributed among a number of competing processes. The resources are partitioned into several types, each consisting of some number of identical instances. Memory space, CPU cycles, files, and input-output devices are examples of the resource types. A process must request a resource before using it and must release the resource after using it. A process may request as many resources as it requires carrying out its designated task. The number of resources requested may not exceed the total number of resources available in the system. Under the normal mode of operation, a process may utilize a resource in only the following sequence. Request. The process requests the resource. If the request cannot be granted immediately, then the requesting process must wait until it can acquire the resource. Use. The process can operate on the resource. Release. The process releases the resource. A set of processes is in a deadlocked state when every process in the set is waiting for an event that can be caused only by another process in the set. The events with which we are mainly concerned here are resource acquisition and release. The resources may be either physical resources or logical resources. To illustrate a deadlocked state, consider a system with three CD-RW drives. Suppose each of three processes holds one of these CD-RW drives. If each process now requests another drive, the three processes will be in a deadlocked state. Each is waiting for the event CD-RW is released, which can be caused only by one of the other waiting processes. This example illustrates a deadlock involving the same resource type. Deadlocks may also involve different resource types. For example, consider a system with one printer and one DVD drive. Suppose that process PA is holding the DVD and process PJ is holding the printer. If PA requests the printer and PJ requests the DVD drive, a deadlock occurs. Now let us see deadlock characterization. Necessary condition. A deadlock situation can arise if the following four conditions hold simultaneously in a system. Mutual exclusion. At least one resource must be held in a non-shareable mode, that is, only one process at a time can use the resource. If another process requests that resource, the requesting process must be delayed until the resource has been released. Second one is hold and wait. A process must be holding at least one resource and waiting to acquire additional resources that are currently being held by the other processes. Third one is no preemption. Resources cannot be preempted, that is, a resource can be released only voluntarily by the process holding it after that process has completed its task. Fourth one is circular wait. A set P naught to Pn of waiting processes must exist such that P naught is waiting for a resource held by P1, P1 is waiting for a resource held by P2, Pn-1 is waiting for the resource held by Pn, and Pn is waiting for a resource held by P naught. Now let us see resource allocation graph. Deadlock can be described in terms of a directed graph, and it is called a system resource allocation graph. The graph consists of a set of vertices V and a set of edges E. The set of the vertices V is partitioned into two different types of nodes. P is equal to P1 to Pn, the set consisting of all the active processes in the system. R is equal to R1 to Rm, the set consisting of all the resource types in the system. A directed and edge from process PI to resource type RJ is denoted by PI to P RJ PI to RJ. It signifies that process PI has requested an instance of resource type RJ and is currently waiting for that resource. A directed edge from resource type RJ to process PI is denoted by RJ to PI. It signifies that an instance of resource type RJ has been allocated to the process PI. A directed edge PI RJ is called a request edge. A directed edge RJ to PI is called an assignment edge. Pictorially, each process PI as a circle and each resource type RJ as a rectangle. Since the resource type RJ may have more than one instance, each instance is represented as a dot within the rectangle. A request edge points to only the rectangle RJ, whereas an assignment edge must also designate one of the dots in this rectangle. When a process PI requests an instance of resource type RJ, a request edge is inserted in the resource allocation graph. When this request can be fulfilled, the request edge is instantaneously transformed to an assignment edge. When the process no longer needs access to the resource, it releases the resource. As a result, the assignment edge is deleted. The resource allocation graph shown in the figure depicts the following situations. See, this is sets P, K and E resource instances. One instance of resource type R1, two instances of resource type R2, one instance of resource type R3, three instances of resource type R4. Process states. Process P1 is holding an instance of resource type R2 and is waiting for an instance of resource type R1. Process 2 is holding an instance of R1 and an instance of R2 and is waiting for an instance of R3. Process P3 is holding an instance of R3. If the graph does contain a cycle, then a deadlock may exist. If each resource type has exactly one instance, then a cycle implies that a deadlock has occurred. If the cycle involves only a set of resource types, each of which has only a single instance, then a deadlock has occurred. Each process involved in the cycle is a deadlocked. If each resource type has several instances, then a cycle does not necessarily imply that a deadlock has occurred. In this case, a cycle in the graph is necessary but not a sufficient condition for the existence of the deadlock. To illustrate this concept, the resource allocation graph is depicted in the below figure. Suppose that the process P3 requests an instance of resource type R2. Since no resource instance is currently available, a request edge P3 to P3 to R2 is added to the graph. At this point, two minimal cycles exist in the system. See the figure. Processes P1, P2, P3 are deadlocked. Process P2 is waiting for the resource R3 which is held by the process P3. Process P3 is waiting for either process P1 or process P2 to release resource R2. In addition, process P1 is waiting for the process P2 to release resource R1. Consider the resource allocation graph in the below figure. In this example also have a cycle. See the figure. However, there is no deadlock. Observe the process P4 may release its instance of resource type R2. That resource can then be allocated to P3, breaking the cycle. Now let us see methods for handling deadlocks. The deadlock problem can be handled in one of the three ways. Use a protocol to prevent or avoid deadlocks, ensuring that the system will never enter a deadlocked state. Allow the system to enter a deadlocked state, detect it and recover. Ignore the problem altogether and pretend that deadlocks never occur in the system. To ensure that deadlocks never occur, the system can use either deadlock prevention or a deadlock avoidance scheme. Deadlock prevention provides a set of methods for ensuring that at least one of the necessary conditions cannot hold. These methods prevent deadlocks by constraining how request for the resource can be made. Deadlock avoidance requires that the operating system be given in advance additional information concerning which resources a process will request and use during its lifetime. With this additional knowledge, it can decide for each request whether or not the process should wait. To decide whether the current request can be satisfied or must be delayed, the system must consider the resources currently available, the resources currently allocated to each process, and the future requests and releases of each process. If a system does not employ either a deadlock prevention or a deadlock avoidance algorithm, then a deadlock situation may arise. In this environment, the system can provide an algorithm that examines the state of the system to determine whether a deadlock has occurred and an algorithm to recover from the deadlock. In the above algorithm, in the absence of algorithm to detect and recover from deadlocks, then the system is in a deadlock state, yet has no way of recognizing what has happened. In this case, the undetected deadlock will result in the deterioration of the system's performance because resources are being held by the processes that cannot run, and because more and more processes as they make request for resources will enter a deadlocked state. Eventually the system will stop functioning and will need to be restarted manually. Now let us see deadlock prevention. Deadlock can be prevented by ensuring that at least one of the four necessary conditions cannot hold mutual exclusion. The mutual exclusion condition must hold for non-shareable resources. Shareable resources do not require mutually exclusive access and thus cannot be involved in a deadlock. Example, read-only files are examples of a shareable resource. If several processes attempt to open a read-only file at the same time, they can be granted simultaneous access to the file. A process never needs to wait for a shareable resource. Deadlocks cannot prevent by denying the mutual exclusion condition because some resources are intrinsically non-shareable. Now let us see hold and wait. To ensure that the hold and wait condition never occur in the system, then guarantee that whenever a process requests a resource, it does not hold any other resources. One protocol that can be used requires each process to request and be allocated all its resources before it begins execution. Another protocol allows a process to request resources only when it has none. A process may request some resources and use them before it can request any additional resources. It must release all the resources that is currently allocated. Example, consider a process that copies data from the DVD drive to file on a disk, sorts the file, and the printer prints the result to a printer. If all the resources must be requested at the beginning of the process, then the process must initially request the DVD drive, disk file, and printer. It will hold the printer for its entire execution, even though it needs the printer only at the end. The second method allows the process to request initially only the DVD drive and the disk file. It copies from the DVD drive to disk and then releases both the DVD drive and the disk file. The process must then again request the disk file and the printer. After copying the disk file to the printer, it releases these two resources and terminates. Now let us see the two main disadvantages of these protocols. Resource utilization may be low since resources may be allocated but unused for a long period. Starvation is possible. Now let us see no preemption. The third necessary condition for deadlock is that there be no preemption of resources that have already been allocated. To ensure that this condition does not hold, the following protocols can be used. If a process is holding some resources and requests another resource that cannot be immediately allocated to it, and then all resources the process is currently holding are preempted. The preempted resources are added to the list of the resources for which the process is waiting. The process will be restarted only when it can regain its old resources as well as the new ones that it is requesting. If the process requests some resources, first check whether they are available. If they are, allocate them. If they are not available, check whether they are allocated to some other process that is waiting for additional resources. If so, preempt the desired resources from the waiting process and allocate them to the requesting process. If the resources are neither available or nor held by a waiting process, the requesting process must wait. While it is waiting, some of its resources may be preempted, but only if another process requests them. A process can be restarted only when it is allocated to the new resources it is requesting and recovers any resources that were preempted while it was waiting. Now let us see circular wait. One way to ensure that this condition never holds in is to impose a total ordering of the all resource types and to require that each process requests resources in an increasing order of enumeration. To illustrate, let R is equal to R1 to Rm be the set of resource types. Assign a unique integer number to each resource type, which allows to compare two resources and to determine whether one precedes another in ordering. Formally, it defined as a one-to-one function f R2n when n is the set of natural numbers. Example: if the set of the resource types R includes tape drives, disk drives, and printers, then the function f might be defined as follows: F tape drive 1, F disk drive 5, F printer 12. Now consider the following protocol to prevent deadlocks. Each process can request resources only in an increasing order of enumeration. That is, a process can initially request any number of instances of resource type Ri. After that, the process can request instances of resource type Rj if and only if f of Rj is greater than f of Ri. Now let us see deadlock avoidance. To avoid deadlocks, as an additional information is required about how resources are to be requested. With the knowledge of the complete sequence of requests and releases for each process, the system can decide for each request whether or not the process should wait in order to avoid a possible future deadlock. Each request requires that in making this decision, the system consider the resources currently available, the resources currently allocated to each process, and the future requests and releases of each process. The various algorithms that use this approach differ in the amount and type of information required. The simplest model requires that each process declare the maximum number of resources of each type that it may need. Given this a priority information, it is possible to construct an algorithm that ensures that the system will never enter a deadlocked state. Such an algorithm defines the deadlock avoidance approach. Now let us say safe state. Safe state. A state is safe if the system can allocate resources to each process up to its maximum in some order and still avoid a deadlock. A system is in the safe state only if there exists a safe sequence. Safe sequence is a sequence of processes P1 to Pn is a safe sequence for the current allocation state. If for each PA the resource request that PA can still make can be satisfied by the currently available resources plus the resources held by all Pj with j is lesser than I. In this situation, if the resources that PI needs are not immediately available, then PI can wait until all PJ have finished. When they have finished, PI can obtain all of its needs resources, complete its designated task, return its allocated resources, and terminate. When PI terminates, PI plus 1 can obtain its needed resources, and so on. If no such a sequence exists, then the system state is said to be unsafe. A safe state is not a deadlocked state. Conversely, a deadlocked state is an unsafe state. Not all unsafe states are deadlocked as shown in the figure. An unsafe state may lead to a deadlock. As long as the state is safe, the operating system can avoid unsafe states. See the figure. Now let us see resource allocation graph algorithm. If a resource allocation system has only one instance of each resource type, then a variant of the resource allocation graph is used for deadlock avoidance. In addition to the request and assignment edges, a new type of edge is introduced called a claim edge. A claim edge PI to RJ indicates that process PI may request a resource RJ at some time in the future. This edge resembles a request edge in direction but is represented in the graph by a dash line. When a process PI requests resource RJ, the claim edge PI to RJ is converted to a request edge. When a resource RJ is released by PI, the assignment edge RJ to PI is reconverted to a claim edge PI to RJ. See the figure. Note that the resources must be claimed in a period in the system, that is, before process PA starts executing, all its claim edges must already appear in the resource allocation graph. We can relax this condition by allowing a claim edge PA to RJ to be added to the graph only if all the edges associated with process PA are claim edges. Now suppose that process PA requests resource RJ. The request can be granted only if converting the request edge PI to RJ to an assignment edge RJ to PI does not result in the formation of a cycle in the resource allocation graph.